Now it's time to talk about a pretty popular class in Classic WoW, and it's a surprisingly good class for hardcore as well. Well, I guess it shouldn't really be surprising, but yeah, today we're talking about mages in hardcore Classic WoW. In today's video, we will do an overview of the class itself, talk about some abilities the mage has that are relevant for hardcore, touch base on both single target and AoE gameplay, how good it is in the open world versus dungeons, and at the end we will also give the class a rating based on how good it is for hardcore. Mages are actually pretty insane for hardcore and might just be one of the best and easiest, or just the best and most wanted classes to play. It really depends on your playstyle. As a mage, there are two main playstyles to highlight, and then you have sub-styles within those playstyles. You have single target and AoE. For AoE, you have one that is focused on Blizzard slow kiting, but you also have one focused on a shatter build with flame strike and arcane explosions. And for single target, you have viable builds both within frost and fire. For the purpose of hardcore and this specific video, I will focus mostly on frost, as I think that is the spec that most people will level with, and people will play early at max level, while probably respecing to fire later down the line. Now, what I personally like about the mage is that things will never get scary unless you personally want them to, or unless you are super unlucky. You have so many abilities in your toolkit, many of which you get access to very early in your leveling process, so you are very good even at early levels. For example, you get Frostbolt very early, allowing you to slow down mobs and kite them around, and by using this effectively, mobs should never be able to get within melee range of you. You also get access to Frost Nova and Blink at early levels, so if the mobs do get into melee range, you can then Nova, Blink away, then start your Frostbolt kiting all over again. Alternatively, if you're focusing on one mob and then suddenly another one attacks you from behind, you can Frost Nova and Blink away. You have so many abilities in your toolkit that can be used both offensively and defensively that will really help you out in your hardcore journey, and let's actually just take a look at some of those abilities that I want to highlight. Frostbolt, one of your first good abilities which you get access to pretty much from the very start, allowing you to slow down mobs. Frost Nova, another ability that you get access to pretty early, allowing you to freeze mobs in place, which allows you to either run away or at least get out of melee range. You also have Blink, allowing you to teleport away. Ice Armor, if enemies hit you with a melee attack, there's a chance they will be slowed down thanks to this Ice Armor, allowing you to outrun them if you need to. Fire Blast, insanely useful for mob tagging, which could be very important for the fresh hardcore servers. Blizzard, allowing you to AoE down mobs, very useful for the well-known mage AoE farming technique, where you basically just pull a bunch of mobs in one pull, then Blizzard them down. Combine this with improved Blizzard for insane AoE farming. Then you have Cone of Cold, another AoE ability with a slow effect which can also be very useful for kiting, especially if you use it together with a jump, the so-called jump cone. Basically, jump into the air, turn your character in the air and use Cone of Cold, that way you keep all of your forward momentum. Conjure Water and Conjure Food, allowing you to be self-sufficient on the food and water front, so you don't need to fill up your bags from a vendor before going on a questing journey. Plus, you save yourself some gold along the way by not needing to buy food or water, and you can even make some gold by trading food and drinks to others for a small fee. Evocation, if you ever go out of mana, this ability is pretty insane. Mana Shield, allowing you to use your mana as a barrier, so when the mobs hit you, they drain your mana instead of your health. Ice Barrier, another shield ability that you get access to later in your leveling journey by speccing down the Frost talent tree. Ice Block, providing immunity to damage for a very short time, but also you have to stand still in the ice block. And Cold Snap, allowing you to double Frost Nova if you need to, or quickly reset the cooldown of pretty much any other Frost ability. Polymorph, allowing you to crowd control mobs. This can be useful in many scenarios, like for example if there are two mobs in one pool, you can polymorph one while focus killing the other one. Alternatively, you can also use it as a survival ability, To get away if you pulled an elite mob that you can't handle, just polymorph it and run. Teleporting abilities, this can be extremely useful while leveling, as you can juggle between teleports and Hearthstone to go back and forth between locations. For example, at level 45 when you have quests in Tornaris, then suddenly a quest from Tornaris requires you to go to the hinterlands to pick up a flower. In this case, put your Hearthstone in Tornaris, teleport to Ironforge, fly to the hinterlands, then Hearthstone back to Tornaris. For regular people, this would be about 25 minutes of flying, but for a mage, it's 1 teleport, 1 Hearthstone, and about 4 minutes of flying, saving yourself at least 20 minutes. On top of this, you also get some passive abilities from talents that are worth knowing about, like for example Frostbite and Permafrost, increasing your freeze and slowing capabilities. By utilizing these abilities, mages really are the kings of any scenario. By speccing into Frostbite, your Frostbolt will have a chance to freeze mobs in place, effectively allowing you single target kiting to kite just about anything, making mages a very strong single target class. That being said, if AoE farming is more your style, then Blizzard with improved Blizzard is absolutely insane. It just requires a little bit of practice, so you know your limits on how many mobs you want to pull per pull. Now, when playing a mage, I like to consider myself a glass cannon. You have insane damage output, both single target and area of effect damage, but you also have very low health and armor values. For example, in Westfall, those gore tusks can literally take you down in 3 hits. That being said, mages do have access to mana shield and ice barriers eventually, making them a lot more tanky, but you also, like if you are unprepared and you don't have any shields on you, you can get taken down pretty quickly, so just keep that in mind. With all of this being said, let's get into some ratings. For solo gameplay, mages get a 5 out of 5 star rating. Once again referring back to slowing abilities like Frostbolts to kite mobs around, Frost Nova to freeze them in place, Polymorph for crowd control, Fire Blast for mob tagging, Ice Block for immunity, Cone of Cold for slowing down multiple mobs in one instant cast, Ice Barriers and Mana Barriers for survival, Blink to get out of dangerous scenarios. Mages have an insane toolkit for just about everything. It is, however, worth mentioning that you do lack self-healing, and you are a glass cannon, but it's still 5 out of 5 stars for me. Now for a group setup, another obvious 5 out of 5 stars. Mages pump damage and can top damage both single target and in AoE pulls, especially in AoE pulls. Mages are insane, and I can't think of a single scenario where you do not want a mage in your group. If you pull too many mobs, a mage can help you blizzard kite mobs to slow them down, while running out to reset as well. It just provides so much. On top of that, you also provide the ability to trade other people food and water. Now for survival, another 5 out of 5 stars. Ice Block for immunity, enough slowing abilities to slow down all of Azeroth, Frost Nova, Blink, you name it. The fact is, mages are pretty insane for hardcore, both while leveling and at max level. You are very good for leveling, everyone wants you in their group, and you are also very good at max level as well. An overall, very good choice.